production even before they're proven to work. Still, he says, even at the earliest, it's unrealistic to see one before kids go back to school this.
In this case, that the idea of having treatments available or a vaccine to facilitate the re-entry of students into the fall term would be something that would be a bit of a bridge too far.
He also talked about the now 52 cases of children with a syndrome linked to coronavirus. And we're following breaking news involving Broadway. The Broadway League just announcing that with no date ready to resume performances, refunds are being offered for all tickets through September 6th. Eyewitness News reporter Dave Evans live in Midtown with all the details. Dave.
As you mentioned, the mayor this morning announced that the city is moving ahead quickly on its testing, tracing, and isolation program. That's very important because Governor Cuomo will not give us permission to move ahead on reopening restaurants and businesses unless we have at least 2,500 of these disease detectives or contact tracers hired and in place and working before we can talk about reopening. More on that in just a minute, but first of all, this mysterious illness that is striking children, the mayor admitted he's concerned. The mayor this morning talked of a troubling trend, an increase in children falling ill from multi-system inflammatory syndrome. So far, there have been 52 confirmed cases in the city. 10 are pending. And in most of these cases, it shows children with this disease have tested positive or they have the coronavirus antibody. Today, the mayor warned parents, be alert.
What we understand so far from our medical community is early detection, early action makes all the difference here. So again, the symptoms, persistent fever, rash, abdominal pain, vomiting.
The mayor also announced this morning that he's moving quickly on putting in place the testing, tracing, and isolation program. So,
as you said, the mobile testing has now begun here in New Jersey. This is probably the first of its kind throughout the entire state, maybe the entire country. We want you to look at the line of folks that have walked up here. Many of them drove, parked their cars, got online. Quite a few people just walked up here to go ahead and get tested. They're going to try to do as many as about 500 tests today out here, but you can see there is a long line of people, many more than people had expected to come out here today, because it looks like a lot of people are anxious here in Bergen County to get tested and to try to see if they have antibodies so they can go ahead and help those who are suffering from COVID-19. The demand for testing for both asymptomatic people and those who think they have had COVID-19 is high. The fact that these Bergen County residents don't need a prescription has led to a big turnout.
I don't think I had it. I was a little ill with cold-like symptoms at the beginning of this whole pandemic start, and I just kind of wanted to get the antibody test to see if maybe it was.
The testing is led by the county and administered by the folks from Newbridge Medical Center, which has a partnership with Rutgers University. That connection makes it possible to do antibody and saliva testing.
The number of hospitalizations has been down, and that's good news. Number of intubations is down, and that's good news. And new cases per day, which is something we watch very carefully. A little bit up, but overall down. I refer to that as the mountain. You see the outline of the mountain. Adirondacks, we know about mountains. See how fast we went up and how much slower the decline was. And that's important. That's what the national experts are talking about when they say you could have an outbreak that you couldn't recover from. The increase, the incline is very fast. The virus travels very quickly. And then the getting control of the outbreak is much slower and much harder. And that was the experience we had here in New York. You see how fast it went up and how many days of super effort by New Yorkers it took to get that spread under control and to reduce the rate of new cases. The number of lives lost, still painfully and tragically high. These are not numbers, these are families. These are lost individuals, their fathers and mothers and brothers and sisters and 166 families are in pain today, and they are in our thoughts and prayers. When you look at where we are today, we're just about where we were when we started this terrible situation. So we have hopefully come through the worst. We paid a heck of a price for it, but we've come through the worst. One of the things we've been very diligent in doing is taking care of our essential workers. We owe them. You know, there's still a right thing in life and a wrong thing.
As of May 13th today, 12:32 p.m., 4,308,055 worldwide cases, with 1,375,949 in the USA alone, and now approaching 300,000 fatalities, almost 300,000 fatalities, 294,155, but 1.5 million has recovered, 1,518,424 to be exact. It's hard to believe that we're almost halfway through May, and I feel like this month has gone faster than March and April combined. I guess when you've had to adjust to a life where you're mostly at home, the days seem to always feel the same. This particular clip won't be too long, but I haven't had the inspiration to film for the last few days. Perhaps I'm in the early stages of burnout, but that's what 15 episodes and non-stop work on documenting this pandemic day to day can do to you. But anyway, I figured I'd talk to you on camera because I haven't updated you in a while, and I also haven't updated you folks on my status of unemployment. And I know that was quite a big deal early on in the first, I think, 2 or 3 episodes. I won't bore you with the details, you know, like I've done with the other episodes before, but let's just say that I'm trending on the good and hopeful side of things, because recently I got this notice, holding it upside down, notice from the New Jersey Department of Unemployment Insurance Office saying that I am eligible for benefits, aka I actually have a weekly rate, a partial benefit rate, and a maximum benefit amount. The downside is that I haven't got any money wired to my checking account yet, and I still have yet to certify for the last 2 work weeks. The problem is that the window to certify is shrinking. So it used to be like you had an hour gap depending on what your social security number is, and now it's relegated to just a 30-minute window on like a particular day. Otherwise you're gonna have to wait like till Wednesday or Thursday. It's kind of just a big mess, and this is the result of too many people that have to file for unemployment within the last 2 months, and that's just the way it has to be done so as to not overwhelm the website. And sometimes I miss that window because I'm occupied with something else. You know, like I read books a lot, and sometimes I get into my reading. Also been composing music or taking a nap. All right. So today's, I should say this episode will be more on the shorter side, because I really want to devote more time to making another memory lane episode dealing with the year of 2016. And that episode, interestingly enough, will be the next episode, episode 16. And with those episodes, that will be the 3rd memory lane installment in this series. I've found that it usually takes a long time to edit and a lot of writing to do, and a lot of thinking about thinking about everything in pop culture in that year, and also like what happened in 2016 for me. So there's a lot of there's a whole big process of producing. It's a whole different kind of producing on that level. So that's all I gotta say for today, May 13th. But most important thing that I'm continue to see that I am continuing to see is that everything is trending downward. And at this rate, we can only hope that June is when we start to clear that next hurdle. Depending on what part of this scale you're on, you are either going to be jealous of Wisconsin or very lucky that they are not in Wisconsin after hearing the news that their government has thrown out the stay-at-home order. Now, I'm pretty sure it's liberating for Wisconsin residents, given that 2 months of having to be sheltered in place can really rake on your nerves. Now, contrary to what I've been hearing in the news, opening up this country much quicker wouldn't be such a bad idea. See, I've already mentioned once that the more people are exposed, the much closer we are to achieving herd immunity. In fact, I just read about Sweden executing this strategy, but it's still a little too early to see whether this is going to be effective. Still, it's the best way to actually combat this pandemic head on while a vaccine is still being developed. And it wouldn't be the first time that we've seen a situation like this. Think about the measles, well over half a century ago. Now, normally I name my episodes after I have filmed and edited them, but for this episode, episode 15 of the COVID-19 Chronicles, I have named this episode Microscopic. A rather unusual title, one named title, but it will soon make sense. And I'm going to explain it now. So the coronavirus is just like every virus and is not visible to the naked eye. But it's also interesting to see how the coronavirus also serves as a microscopic look into the deep problems that America has and are being exposed because of it. People with poor hygiene, not counting those who are less fortunate, I understand that, but also the way our governments from the local, state, and national level have handled all of this. I don't want to start deviating into a rant because I do not want to have I do not want to run the risk of this video taken down. But I need to say it. This lockdown is not, and I repeat, is not the solution to this pandemic. It was supposed to be a temporary thing so as not to overwhelm the healthcare system. But believe me, I do not want to be spending the next 8, 9, 10 months sheltering in place. Ironic as it sounds, okay, the more the populace gets infected, the better chance that we make the potential next wave less powerful. At this point, there really is no point in giving you the updated numbers every day because I know that eventually the majority of the world will inevitably get exposed to it. I still only do it just for the sake of looking back, years from now and say, this day had such and such numbers. We gained this much in one day, or we slowed down the other day. But let's break down today's numbers nevertheless. So I've got it right here in the screen in front of me. May 15th, 12:33 p.m., 4,498,579 worldwide, with 1,426,569 of those in the U.S. alone, which has resulted in 304,631 fatalities and 1,618,316 recoveries. So, on the graphic, right in front of you now, you see that the mortality percentage is 6.8%. Yes, it has climbed up quite a bit compared to last month. But so has the recovery percentage. Now, you know that many people who were initially not diagnosed with COVID-19 tested positive for the antibody. So if we were to retroactively add those as official coronavirus cases, you can see that the recovery percentage is higher and thus the mortality percentage lower. So let's estimate. I'm just going to throw out a number that I think would be in the ballpark. 3.4 million for the antibody for those who have not been diagnosed initially with coronavirus. So now that new total would be 7,898,579 total confirmed cases. Thus, the number recovered would now be up to 5,018,316. And obviously the number of deaths remain the same. Fatality rate is now 3.9%. Recovery is at 63.5%, which leaves us at 32.6% active cases. Bottom line, this virus is not as lethal as the media is making this out to be. Let me be clear. I am not trying to downplay the seriousness of the pandemic. Any pandemic is always a time of crisis, especially with a new virus that is not yet fully known. Okay, we don't even know if this virus was really genetically engineered, for example. But we just have to continue to be prudent and be aware of when we need the mask. How long are we going to be out of our houses? Did we wash our hands thoroughly? And most importantly, are we healthy when we come back, from the outside? And who exactly are we going to see, or have we been seeing? Okay? For me, personally, I just don't want to get sick, and I would rather receive the vaccine only and solely because I need to protect my parents who are in their 60s, and I'm still, sadly, like a lot of millennials out there living in their house. It's unfortunate that this virus, though, is the deadliest to the elderly, those with pre-existing conditions, and the young children. And we still need to think about them and protect them the best we can. But if we want the upper hand with this crisis, we have to get the ball rolling again. Yes, cases will accelerate again. And I know I've said in the past that if the progression keeps slowing down daily, that was a good sign. But that was before coming to realize, or coming to my senses, that locking down only gives the illusion that things are improving, when in reality, it only prolongs the agony. So, let's see how Wisconsin, the southern states like Georgia and South Carolina, I have family in those places. I have family in South Carolina. I have a friend living in Georgia, and Sweden. Let's see how that country fares for the rest of summer. And if these places can go a prolonged period of time without any mishaps, then chances are reopening the country might happen quicker than you think, and no second lockdown be needed. Before you know it, a vaccine has arrived.